So this is going to be kind of a mini series. This is Amanda Sparrow Large Teague, and she married the ghost of a pirate from the 1700s. And I actually was able to interview her. I worked on a podcast my sophomore year of college. It was called The Awkward Human Survival Guide, and I found her story really interesting. So we had a chat with her. She's a really sweet woman, and I'm going to tell y'all her story today. So this story starts with her son dying in 2010, and that's when Amanda started to look into spirituality, into religion, kind of seeking solace from the whole tragedy of her son dying. And she became super interested in mediumship and energy work, and what she had said was that it really made sense to her because of the law that energy cannot be created or destroyed, that there would be spirits out there and that you could work with energy. And this was not her job. It was just something that she was practicing like any other spiritual practice or religion. She also loved the spiritual community that she was a part of and the people that she met, and she felt like it offered her a lot of protection and there was a lot of positivity. So she was really enjoying that for herself. So the way that she met this spirit, she was doing energy work one day and she felt an unfamiliar energy enter her space. And she didn't know what they wanted, but it seemed that they wanted to connect with her. And she actually resisted that at first because I believe that they warn against doing that in the practice of mediumship. But eventually, after multiple days of it trying to connect with her, she reached out to see what it wanted and communicate with it. And a side note on mediumship, I don't fully understand how it works. The way that she described it, she said she wasn't hearing him or seeing him. It's more like an inner sensing of energy. Again, I don't fully understand how it works, so I'm just going off what she has told us. So this energy introduced itself as the spirit of a pirate named Jack Teague that died in the 1700s, and that is how she first met her future husband. She also said that she had never communicated with any spirit this old. Most of the spirits that she had communicated with through her mediumship were recent spirits, and ones that she knew and could verify that they were that person based on things that they were telling her. So it was a little bit confusing for her, and she didn't automatically trust him. And she told us that she actually thought it was in her mind at first a little bit as well, because she was writing a book about pirates at the time. So she thought she just kind of like brought it to the front of her mind. But over time, it grew very much more real. So she started to try and get facts from him that she could look up to verify his identity, because she didn't fully trust who he was since she didn't know him before and she'd only communicated with recently passed spirits before then. And the confirmation that she got from him was when he revealed to her that he actually was in her family tree, and that if she looked into her family tree, she would be able to find him under the name Jack Teague. And of course, she went and did that, and sure enough, he's in her family tree. And I do wonder how she felt about the fact that they were distantly related, but I suppose any kind of worries about that or age gap kind of go out the window when they're a spirit. And she said that first she felt a romantic connection. She didn't want to say anything because she didn't know. She thought she was crazy, essentially, that nobody had ever done that and that it was silly of her to think of. But he actually ended up suggesting it in 2016 that they be in a relationship. So she started looking into it, and turns out other people have done this. And he actually even told her that he had been in a relationship with 2 other women before her who were alive. And I can confirm, because we also interviewed another medium, that dating ghosts and even sleeping with ghosts is a real thing that people do. I mean, of course, not everyone's going to believe that, but apparently it is a real thing that some people do. She said a lot of people in her life were very supportive. Her dad, not so much, because he was very Catholic and he felt like it was evil. But most of the people in the spiritual community were very supportive of her, and it was a great relationship for her because she was very independent, and she's also demisexual, so not having that aspect of the relationship much was not a problem for her, and still living by herself was great. Although she did sleep with this ghost. And that is a thing that you can look up. It's called spectrophilia if you want to look more into it. And the way that she described sleeping with a ghost is basically that you can still feel the same sensations and you can feel their energy there. So it's pretty much the same, except there's no one there. And you can make up your mind whether you think that's real or not. I will just say that if there are any ghosts out there watching, I'm not interested. So once they'd been dating a while, they started looking into marriage like any other couple. But marrying a ghost is not a thing in many countries, although it is a thing in some countries. And that's how they figured out that they would get married on international waters. And here she is in her wedding dress, and they also did have a medium there to speak for Jack, so that there was verbal consent as well. She also said they had a hand fasting ceremony, which is a pagan practice. They had that on land though, because it was, I'm on land now, because it's a spiritual ceremony. It's not a legal ceremony, so they could have that on land. Unfortunately, there was some trouble in paradise, paranormal paradise. Sorry, I had to. Also, she does show him often as Jack Sparrow, but I think that that's just kind of a representation of him. So 2 weeks after they got married, she started to have health problems. She got psoriasis first, then she got internal abscesses that would not heal, and she was going on antibiotics, but every time she got off of them, they'd start up again. So things were not going well. She also went into menopause, which she was quite young for, and at that point she kind of started to think like, what if this is some sort of negative energy from him? What's going on here? But everybody else in her spiritual community, lots of mediums checked in with her and they said, it's all good, it's not him, some things just happen, which is fair. Some things do just happen. So she was very sick for 1.5 years, and then to make matters worse, her dog was very old, and speaking of dogs, here's Tallulah, and was about to die. And so she asked Jack, will you take him in with you, and then I'll meet you in the spiritual realm whenever I go. But when her dog died and she tried to help him pass on and go to Jack, yeah, I know you don't want to die. You will never die. Anyways, so when she was trying to get him to pass on, he was growling at Jack, did not want to go to him, and that is red flag number 1. If a dog doesn't like them, I'm not interested in their company, personally. So after the incident with the dog, she was pretty mad at him. She felt like he wasn't putting enough effort in with the dog, so she cut off contact from him for 6 weeks. And during that 6 weeks, she said her health improved immensely. But her story also went viral, which left her at a crossroads of, first of all, I married this person. What am I going to do? Do I want to continue? Do I not want to continue? People just found out about it and are kind of asking me a lot of questions. It'd be pretty embarrassing to go back now. Of course, he made up some excuses. He gaslighted her. Typical. And she still loved him, so she took him back. Even men who are ghosts can gaslight you. But her health got bad again as soon as they got back together. She actually went into sepsis and she had to have emergency surgery. And around the time of that surgery is when she took off her wedding ring, because she really started to think it was him. And she had a ton of complications. The wounds wouldn't heal, and she didn't understand because she had cut him out. She wasn't talking to him anymore, and she didn't have the ring on anymore. So she thought that would fix it. At that point, she reached out to somebody who specialized in banishing spirits, and they confirmed to her that Jack was still there. He was still present, and he was still feeding off of her energy, so she would need an exorcism. So she made one last contact with Jack, and she let him know that he needed to leave her, or she was going to get an exorcism and force him. And he said no. And he said, actually, I will unalive you if you try to do that. And that is when she remembered that one of the girls that he had dated before her had died in her 40s. So that's pretty scary. However, she wanted to fight him. She didn't care. She was already so sick. She just decided, I'm getting rid of him right now. And I think that was the right choice. And she did have an exorcism. She said it was not as dramatic as you would think, but you do feel like something is being pulled out of you. So she went to the the doctor again after 2 weeks after that exorcism, and the perforations in her intestines that she thought she had to have surgery for had healed. Everything was starting to go back to normal with her health, which is a crazy coincidence at the very least. And she even got her periods back, and this all happened within a month of the exorcism. All of her health conditions became better. She's fully healthy again. And she reached out to many of her friends in the spiritual community after this happened to let them know, hey, it was him. Why did you say that it wasn't? You're supposed to know what you're talking about here. And a lot of them cut her off, and she called a lot of them out. And she does warn now that a lot of the spiritual community is after your money, and you can't trust everyone. Last part, and we're just going to talk about what she's up to now. First of all, she does believe that Jack was really a pirate from the 1700s. She doesn't believe he was a demon, but he was executed. She knew that when she started dating him, but it didn't really put the dots together. You know, sometimes you're blind to the red flags. I get it. So she doesn't think he was a very good person during his life, and it doesn't seem like he wanted to move on from the physical realm. And she said that when you're spirit and you don't move on from the physical realm past a certain point, you have to start sucking people's energy to stay alive, which is horrifying. But that's essentially what he was doing. And she does not know where he is now, and she does not want to know. So, fair enough. As for her personal life, she doesn't practice mediumship anymore. She really warns against buying into the spiritual world too much. One of the things she said was that, you know, we're here for a physical existence, so don't put too much weight on the spiritual realm when we're not there yet. That was an interesting thing to think about. But she's not interested in contacting or dating any more ghosts. And she was really interesting to speak with. She's a super nice woman. And I hope y'all enjoyed this little mini series. I'm working on some other stuff. I'll have more big series coming on, but I'm going to do a few mini series as well, just on people that I think are super interesting. And leave a comment if there's something that you think that I should cover, because I'm always open to ideas. I'm willing to talk about pretty much anyone. I love the tea.